Hello, hello.
Hello, welcome. Sorry, we are all, well, at least I can speak for myself. I am so bad at technology and we're still kind of putting things together. So we might be a little bit late once in a while here as we're trying to learn things, and we're also in the middle of rebranding right now, which we'll talk a little bit about just so we have some transparency. So prior to our start, we originally had a different host in Tia's spot, and that host considered themselves part of the queer community, and so we had Proud branded with the LGBTQ flag. But as none of us quite put ourselves into the community, we felt like it would be disingenuous to promote it in such a way, and we didn't want to do a disservice to people who are part of the queer community. So we've rebranded for that reason. But that being said, the important thing is that we want people of all identities, all like experiences, environments, things like that. Like, we are an open community and we want to learn about everybody, and that includes the queer community. So we don't want anybody to be confused about why we made the change. We just didn't want it to come across as disingenuous. We've also decided that we are going to be adding in a Sunday episode every single month. And so the reason we did this is that after our introduction video, we just all felt like we vibed so well. We like threw this together last minute in just a couple of weeks. Tia joined literally like the day of, and so we didn't know like what to expect or anything, and we just felt like there's no way the four of us are going to be able to not see each other more often and be able to talk about things that like we actually are interested in talking about. Not to say that we're not interested in our guests, because we are definitely interested in our Wednesday night guest episodes, but we just felt like it would be a lot of fun for us to get together to talk about other topics. And the other fun thing, thanks Tamara, I see your heart, by the
Hi,
way, love you
Tamara.
girl. um the other thing that's like so fun about adding in this Sunday episode is that we really want to be involved with our viewers. And so we are going to be putting up votes every week. So we'll propose like two different topics to talk about on the next Sunday episode. And you guys get to vote. So, like, do not miss out on your ability to have power over what we talk about. We want you guys to be
Yes.
involved as much as possible. Um,
Yes.
and I think Janelle is next up and has a little shout out.
I don't actually.
She does.
It's not ready yet, but I'll say a verbal one. Okay, so no, first I just wanted to welcome everybody. We really loved all the support last week on our first episode. So thank you all for that. Yeah, like Shelby said, we're adding a Sunday episode now, so you guys can look forward to Sundays with the four of us on here every Sunday, 7:30 PST. And then Wednesdays, we'll be having a combination of any two of us with our two guests. So look forward to that. We've just been getting a lot of love on our Instagram, so I did want to shout out a few people. Thank you guys for sharing our posts. Thank you guys for interacting. We really appreciate it. Our three most recent followers, we have KU, aka Kayleen. Thank you for the follow. Jamie J, thank you. Aaron Fairchild. And then on our Twitch, we have a few people here that have been following. If you guys are watching the stream, please drop us a follow. We do want to hit our goal. And yeah, so welcome everyone. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you guys so much.
So yeah, if you're not following,
one thing that I want to point out too is that we have had a time change. So instead of being on at 8:30 or 9, we will be playing at 7:30 p.m. PST on both days. And also, I'm just going to take a moment to regard the chat that's up in Twitch right now, and we really are trying to do something positive, and we want the vibes to be good, and people who are contributing in negative ways will not be tolerated, because that's not what our platform is about. So if you want to watch, then we hope people watch. If you're just here to be a troll, like, I hope that you find better things to do with your time.
But it is also not required for
that.
you guys. Yeah, it's not required for you guys to follow. We love you being here. But our objective for this podcast is to bring people together in a positive, welcoming community. So,
correct.
With that being said,
I will add, we as a whole, we got to understand that there's a lot of different type of people out there. So at the end of the day, good publicity, bad publicity, at the same time, it kind of works a little bit. Whether you will be acknowledged or not, you can continue to view our shit. I like negative comments as long as it comes with the view, I suppose, because somebody's got to watch. So, I mean, we will probably mute your comment, but feel free to keep hating. You may get blocked if it gets too derogatory, but otherwise, you feel me? We definitely are watching people, and we seeing what y'all seeing, but that's the point. We would love your opinion, so throw it out there. You feel me?
So yeah, any disrespectful comments will be deleted, and we'll handle it accordingly. I don't want to give any more attention to that. So
100.
This week we are going to be talking about a lot of things, but before we get into our deeper conversation, Tia's going to start us out with a little icebreaker. So Tia?
So guys, we've been engaging with some people online, and we decided that some people want to get to know us a little bit better. What we're going to go ahead and do is I want to ask everybody what their pet peeve is, and we're all going to go ahead and share what it is. And I voted that Tesla goes first because I just felt like everybody's curious to what ticks this calm person. Set them off, T.
You'd probably be surprised on how many things tick me off throughout the day. But one of the ones I thought of when we first asked this question was, lately, I don't know what it is, we're driving, I'm just road rager anyways, I try to keep my phone, but what pisses me off is when people stop, like they're already stopped at the stop sign, but they wait for you to stop, then they go, when they could have just already been going the whole time.
I can tell you from California, because it sounds like what they're doing is correct. They're supposed to come on to the side, stop, then go. But I'm guessing you from California.
No. So they'll be already stopped, right? And then they watch me stop. Then they go. But they're already stopped and could have been going whilst I was stopping, you know what I mean?
I got you.
That's
Yeah,
kind
like
of a little
you're not
just
picking up what you're
right off
putting
the
down.
head. What was that, Shelby?
I said they're not quite picking up like the cues. They're not picking up what you're putting down. Is like what you're saying. They're not being aware.
Yeah. They're just not being aware, exactly. That's just like the most off the top of the head pet peeve I can think of.
Okay, that's not bad. What you got, Shelby?
Okay, so my pet peeve, and it's like ridiculous in my mind, but or like I like recognize that it's ridiculous, is I get super annoyed when people use like the handicap buttons, but they have like no seemingly like reason to, right? Like they're not holding something, or they're not disabled, or like whatever reason. And the reason that it bothers me is not because I'm like, oh, that should only be for handicapped people. It's because you're slowing down my walk. Because my other pet peeve is slow walkers. So this like goes even further on slow walkers, because it takes longer to like press the button, let it open, than it does to just open the damn door and walk through it.
So
Slow walkers at theme parks.
What I'm getting at is, so you telling me, because I'm guilty. I will definitely, if nobody's around and that day it's not a busy day and I see a handicap spot, I'm gonna take the handicap spot. But not always, sometimes.
What is wrong with you guys?
Just being honest. I want to say that when I broke my leg, right, and I was technically handicapped, but I didn't get the sticker or nothing. So that's kind of where I got the habit from. I ain't gonna hold you. So I was kind of partially in it.
Wrong.
Absolutely.
But like, what about like pregnant women? They should have their own
My pet peeve is that you guys
They
park
do
in
have
handicap
maternity
spots
parking.
when you're not actually
They-
qualified to be handicapped.
Oh yeah, I've guilt tripped my mom so many times because my grandmother is handicapped, so we have like a handicap sticker, and my mom will use it. I'm like, Mom, you're not handicapped. Like, what if that's the one spot somebody needs? Don't use that. But Tia, who has a like leg issue, right? Like we other people outsiders wouldn't necessarily see that, but like if I saw your ass hobbling along, I'd be like, oh yeah, she's parked in the handicap spot. That makes sense. She's hobbling, you know.
Well, now I feel dumb because my pet peeve is like way more ridiculous than these. So my ridiculous pet peeve is I like can't stand an unmade bed. Like I feel way more comfortable when my bed is fully made. My pillows need to be specifically placed. It's not that uptight, but I just want my bed to be made before I get into
I would
it.
drive you nuts because I am like very much in the crew where it's like, hey, I got out of bed, I'm coming back, I'm getting in it later, like I'm gonna mess it up in the same capacity that I messed it up getting out, like whatever. I'll make it if there's like guests coming over or something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
with
perfectly
you,
made, but
Janelle.
I just want my bed, like my comforter, flat and my pillows in the right spot. Crispy.
So Janelle,
It's
tell me,
nothing like.
I agree. But tell
Go
me
ahead,
what do you think about like sleeping naked? Like, is that a big thing for you? Because you're so like, you're so extra on your sheets. It sounds like I need to know what you think about people sleeping naked.
I mean, we sleep naked all the time. That's not a big deal.
Okay.
It's just
So
the
did you guys know though that like when you sleep naked and you fart, supposedly there's like little poop particles that
Like,
fly
wow.
out. I had to put it out there. I know that sounds crazy.
alright.
But I don't know. Fun fact.
No, that makes sense though.
Don't be
Like, it
farting
is
in the
a-
bed.
Aware, yeah.
And that's
It's
why
just
you
like
don't
your
get in
drawers.
everybody's bed, okay? You stay in your own bed.
Okay, you don't know when they last washed their sheets.
Facts.
Be careful out here, ladies. These dudes are nasty. Okay.
Not even that, everybody, but wash your pillowcases because that's how you avoid, the
Mhm.
bubbly skin, right?
Mhm.
Right. Hey, yo, so
You
really
can wash
though,
your pillows too.
yeah, absolutely. That's retarded though. I think people should just buy a brand new pillow.
like you just want to continuously buy pillows and not put them in the wash.
Pillows aren't that expensive. We bought new pillows tonight.
Okay, so I'm gonna be honest with y'all, 100%. I've never washed a pillow in my life. That thing get dirty
What?
like that.
It's super easy.
Hmm.
You could put it in the washer dryer.
Pillows. You can throw them in the wash, throw them in the dryer.
Okay.
They're good.
So even with those, you feel me? I was always taught that you could like literally get new cotton, the little zip. You can get new cotton bags and you take the cover off. You wash the cover to the pillow. But I've been seeing lately on TikTok, people are putting these pillows with the cotton in them in the tub and just letting them soak. But what is wet cotton, y'all? And moisture and wet cotton bacteria. So I'm like, how you really gonna dry the pillow? Just buy a.
But what if
pillow
it's
that
not
you
a
got.
cotton pillow?
So
What if
I
it's like
throw
one
it
of
in the
those
dryer.
$120
All right,
pillows?
Hey, look.
Yeah,
they
now we're
$3,
like-
y'all.
Yeah.
Okay,
but
that
a good
depends though, right? A good pillow, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
Cool, but the doctors say you only need 2 good pillows on your bed. Everything else is for decoration, really. You only supposed to have one up under your neck and maybe one between your legs. So let's talk about it.
Let's
No, I need a 4 pillow minimum.
One
no
behind
pillow,
your back.
maybe one in between my legs. And that's it.
You're putting a pillow in between you and your man's.
No, I need one in front of me, one right here, and like one behind my head.
You're an annoying sleeper. Oh goodness.
I just like to be
Alright, so look.
comfortable.
Let me run into go ahead and go into my pet peeves, you know what I mean? So we can keep it rolling. And I definitely want to say mine is being in crowded spaces for no reason. When I like, you know what I'm saying? Like football games, I was that person when the scoreboard got down to a certain level, it's time to go. It says 27 seconds. I know the score, what could potentially happen. I'm gonna start making my way out to the parking lot, and then I'm gonna look up at the scoreboard when the time goes off and know who won, and I'm out there first in traffic. Because being in crowds, not being able to get out, that's something about my pet peeve that I literally get anxiety
Yes.
about. Like,
Absolutely. I have the same thing happen. So it's funny because like when I'm like on a freeway or something, right? And if there's like nobody really like if it's not very crowded and there's not many people in front of me, then I don't really care how fast I'm going. But as soon as there's more people, I'm like, I gotta get up here. And then I'm like, I'm 80, I'm 85, maybe I hit 90 if I'm trying to pass somebody. Like, let me out, because I do not like to be like trapped or feel like almost
I
like
mean,
claustrophobic is like
yeah, especially now with people who don't wear masks and all that.
Wait a minute.
Ooh.
Did you just really throw that in there? Like, especially now. Girl, there's been sicknesses
Yeah,
in
you
school.
know, we used to go in Target and I would count how many people were not wearing masks, like pre-vaccine. And we come out, me and Quincy would come out and we'd be like, 25.
Right now, okay?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
But guess what? I wear my mask and I haven't been sick in over a year and a half, so.
I mean, I'm not telling people not to wear the mask, you know what I mean? By all means, wear your mask. But if you want to not wear your mask, please do stay your 6 feet. You feel me?
Exactly. Yep.
But to count
sure.
people in the store, that was low-key category Karen. I don't want to put you there.
That is not Karen. That is not Karen. You know what's Karen? Passing COVID on to your loved one and them going in the hospital.
No,
That's
I told
Karen.
you,
And
it
not
was
wanting
like,
to
I
wear
feel
your
it.
mask.
But you talking about counting people. That's a Karen move. Say less.
Yeah, dude. I'm talking like
maybe more
height of
emergency.
COVID in the hometown we all know, when nobody wanted to wear their mask and they had no vaccine. Yeah, we were in there
You was
counting people.
outnumbered out there, baby. You was outnumbered then, for sure.
Yeah, don't even get me started.
No, yeah, let's not even bring up that.
All right, so this week I wanted to hang on, let me turn somebody up. So I wanted to preface this week we're going to be talking about a little bit more of a serious topic. You guys voted this week on our Instagram story, so if you aren't following us on there, make sure to follow us, Loud Proud Sobbing, on Instagram. So you guys voted, you wanted us to talk about the Texas abortion law. So we're going to be talking about that tonight. Obviously, this is a sensitive topic. We're going to get pretty deep. We're going to bring up multiple sides, talk about pretty much as we can from 4 different perspectives. So that is going to be tonight's main topic. So Tia, why don't you get us started?
Well, first off, I wanted to definitely bring up that it's very important that we decide to vote, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes when them little ugly pamphlets come to our door and we don't know what they is and it says like voter book or voter rights, take a peek in there and then see what people are proposing for us and for your people, you know what I'm saying? And for your kids, because just recently there has been things that have been passed in, you know, certain conservative states of regarding abortion, regarding female rights. And we definitely, you know, we think that there's a lot of controversial opinions on it. You know what I mean? First, I definitely want to say that my heart goes out to anybody who has been in a situation where they've not been able to carry their pregnancy through the whole way in any kind of way, whether, you know, that was the first 6 weeks, first 2 weeks, first 8 months, by accident, by miscarriage, by purpose, by soulful reason. That's your opinion and that is your choice. You know what I'm saying? So just laying it out there, I'm pro-choice. It's your decision. You should definitely get your, you know, your option to choose. I definitely, you know, came across the story the other day that really shook me up, you know what I'm saying? And before I get into that, I want to ask the ladies, just kind of, how do you guys feel about this Texas law that's been passed that is now stating that women are not allowed to get an abortion after 6 weeks? They definitely need to be a parent of their situation and stuff like that, making it illegal to even help anybody, you know, go through with an abortion, a ride, a call, money, any type of setup where you're involved in an abortion before 6 weeks, or excuse me, after 6 weeks. After 6 weeks, you are definitely in for some trouble. So what do you guys think that, you know, how does that affect us? And how long would you guys think before all the other states kind of jump on board? Or do you think that's even possible?
I mean, I think Texas, first of all, is notorious for being very specific with who they target as far as their laws. Right now, I did put it on the screen, but first, before we get deeper into the conversation, Shelby did make and pull some facts and statistics that I have put up on the screen if you guys want to go ahead and start reading through. But we should definitely point out the stats and statistics before we say anything further, because I think it's really important to start there.
I'm going to pull them up, on my screen, because it's a little bit small on the Twitch, so I don't know how well it shows up for other people. But
make it
Janelle,
a little bigger.
Cut over for you. But for me, as a person, like, I just like to have, I'm a social science major. I think it's fair to note that, because that means that when I'm like assessing the world, I learn to look at like economic history, normal history, and kind of like the way that things have changed through time and how that like corresponds with everything. So I like to know like who we're talking about, what we're talking about, things like that. So I went ahead and like made a little graph, as you can see. And the first thing that I want to dive into for this is the Texas like abortion law, like specifically. So this is affecting abortions that occur after 6 weeks. So a better scale of that is 1.5 months. Now, women have 28-day period cycles, and it's very common. And I think men probably aren't as aware of this. But it's very common for some women to skip a month or have like wonky periods, and that can be affected by things like your eating habits. It can just be that way for some
your
women.
hormones, everything could just be biological.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of things that affect like how soon you even know when you might be pregnant. One of the things about the law is that basically it allows for anybody who is even out of state to be able to report anybody who's involved in a woman's abortion. So that means medical personnel, that's nurses, that's doctors, insurance companies, and it even like will extend to, or can extend anyways, to Uber drivers or taxi drivers, whoever is helping that woman get to the abortion. What's interesting, and I guess is nice, is that the person who's pregnant is not actually like being affected by the law itself. It's like the people who are helping her get the abortion. In some way that's, I don't know, in some way that's nice, but at the end of the day, like, I personally don't believe that anybody should be sued for helping that, because I am a pro-choice person. In any case, though, continuing, what it does is it allows private citizens, note, not the government, private citizens, and again, anywhere, to be able to sue people who they are like reporting, and then a court case would happen. And if it is after the 6 weeks, if they can prove that the abortion occurred and that these people helped, then the person who reported will get a $10,000 payout. So it's really similar to like the idea of a bounty. I wanted to include a quote from the Texas governor, Greg Abbott, where he said, "Our Creator endowed us with the right to life, and yet millions of children lose their right to life every year because of abortion." And like for me, one thing that I kind of like consider in this is that, in the globe and on Earth, there are a lot more lives than just humans. We have like driven a lot of species to extinction. We have ruined complete environments and things like that. So for me, as somebody who is very spiritual, I kind of have a personal struggle with like understanding why humans are special compared to like the other species which exist, and that means like plants and things too. But anyways, the next part of this,
really quick before we move on to that, I do want to speak to what his quote is talking about too, because I don't just want to relate it to life and the environment as far as like plants and animals. We can also talk about other humans. Texas is very notorious for being super strict about immigration. Why do we value whatever you want to call it, a baby, a fetus, an unborn human in the womb, but we're not considering the actual mother that's carrying the baby. We're not considering immigrants that are coming across our border trying to make their life better and create a better life for their children or escape whatever situations they're coming away from. I think it's very it's a fine line between what is believed religiously and what should be created in law. And I think on top of that, for a man, being that he is the governor, to speak when he cannot relate to having a period to being able to get pregnant, I think it's very it's wrong for a man to be able to tell another woman what she does with her body when he cannot experience any of that. So, yeah, that's one thing that really bothers me. Another question that has been proposed before is, can we think of any laws that are specific to men's bodies that the government regulates, just men? Because I can't think of any. I think women have historically been set aside. We've been attacked by the government, trying to be regulated, and we've been set aside. I mean, for centuries, we didn't even have the right to vote until the early 1900s. Women were not allowed to have a bank account until the 1980s. And so for the government, especially primarily men, to be making laws on women without the majority of women being able to vote on this and just passing this overnight is not only scary how much the government has control over women in Texas and potentially other states, but for me personally, I haven't been in that situation before, but as a woman, it does scare me, for my fellow females, and just for the people that I do know that have been in those situations where, it's not something that's an easy decision. It's not something that people just go and do for fun on a Friday night. So I think that's the core of what we really want to talk about tonight and get into exactly who should have the right to say what we do with our bodies. So yeah.
Well, to add to that, right? It's a conversation that I feel like it sucks because we all wish we had it in reversal. So what I mean by that is like the first the first person, if we took gender out of it, to identify and take the time to scientifically or be approved for the knowledge to try to understand the female anatomy was a man. And that right there there were so many faults and so many dead bodies because of that. You know what I mean? That it really does have an effect on the generations and the centuries that we've moved forward, you know what I mean, and decision making of our body, you know what I mean, because the statistics on gynecologists, if I'm not mistaken, it's winning by 54% male. It's not a lot, but you got to think about half of gynecologists are men, and why are we not deciding and deciphering why we, certain majors and certain things that we might want to dive into. Now, I noticed that 2021, it has become a more current thing to see more female gynecologists, but majority of the time it is a lot of men in that field. And so with that being said, I definitely think that the government will never give us full-fledged say over our body, unfortunately. And I think that's why they were scared of Hillary being in office, being that it was a female. But see, the thing is I also want to go back to the fact that the scientists at a point in time didn't even think that women felt, or excuse me, to be specific, because for them to even figure out about the female anatomy, there were a lot of African women that died, you know, subsiding that based off the fact that there was men that once thought, you know, women were the problem, you know, to society, at the fact that we didn't have a dick. And that's the reason that they then started to even look into the vagina and see what was going on inside of there, even knowing we could have babies and stuff. But it's kind of interesting to see how many women died at the research of women, you know, and women health, to even realize that, like, we have a say, you know what I mean? There's so many dead voices and dead women that we don't even know the names of, that I feel bad about when you think about laying there on a table and being somebody's, you know, experiment for their notes that were false at the time, like completely false, down to if they thought women didn't have orgasms, you know what I'm saying? Then they thought we had a G spot. The G spot is actually named after a male scientist his last name started with G. So and he was the first person that supposedly found the spot. And
Ew.
that's what they named it. I swear to God. And you guys got to do your research on this, because it's like when you think about certain shit, there actually is no G spot. So continue to look at that. Majority of, female orgasms are clitorious and certain things that they thought that little thing didn't have nerves and stuff like that. They used to circumcise women before they circumcised men. So, and, there's always been this thing about women not being able to have a say, but yet we do so much, scientifically, there would be no men without us. So I don't understand where the disregard comes from. But then we also have to look at the group of people that are making the major decisions in Congress are old white men. Unfortunately, they're still in that stigma just a little bit, with the fact that, you know what I'm saying, the westernized idea of women shut up, don't be seen, but I should smell you and hear you in that kitchen, doing your damn job. And just forgetting that there's so many things that come with pregnancy, even getting the right kind of support within pregnancy and certain many things. I think that this topic has touched my heart in so many ways, being a mom now. And when I was in the hospital, even having my demands and requests not met by male doctors and certain things that I'm telling them I don't feel right in certain things. And boom, I ended up in a C-section and I didn't want to be. So I know first-handedly, like, oh my God, when your rights are taken from you, it stirs you up in the inside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being in high school, the amount of people that had abortions and certain things that I know their life could be different right now, that touches too,
Yeah, I think in general, what women go through with everything in life, a lot of men have a lot to say on that. I did want to touch on the point you made about gynecology and things like that. I do think we are coming into a time where women can decide, what doctor they want to go to. They can decide if they're comfortable with things. Being, their doctor being a man or not. Some women are uncomfortable with that. I definitely don't want to say that there aren't creepy doctors out there. The female anatomy is very intricate. It's very different from the male anatomy. But yeah, that is definitely something to think about, like who we have treating us. I don't think necessarily like male gynecologists or male doctors who give like pap smears or things like that are a bad thing, but it's definitely something to look at why that population of doctors is overwhelmingly male. You know what I mean?
Control.
So,
and I think that
yeah.
with that, we still have to kind of consider, like, in terms of history, how much historical change has occurred in such a small amount of time. So for literally thousands of years, men were the dominating, human presence, of course, like stemming back from, hunter-gatherer, and like whoever's strong can protect the weak, whatever, right? So that happened for thousands of years, and now we are having all of these changes really occurring in like a 200 and then specifically like a 70-year frame of time. And so it's what we're kind of seeing is that we are breaking those gender roles, and one of those gender roles was that women could not be doctors and women could only be nurses. And so we are finally stepping out of that, and I think that that is a reason to be optimistic. I don't think that it's going to stay the way that it has. We've already started to see the shift of the dynamics happening, and I only see that happening more as long as we continue to allow women to embrace and empowerment of themselves.
What I will say is I kind of disagree. I feel like there has to be more proactive work to be done. And what I mean by this is that's within our schools and the understanding and the teaching of the penis in itself. Because I've always seen that men in high school and school and elementary came out that sex ed class giggling and hee-heeing and look at my condoms and was kind of excited almost, and like it gave it a little bit of boost of motivation to a man in sex education, almost making it too fun. There wasn't enough knowledge being spoken about that penis of theirs. See, now with female education, well, we came in like, damn, that vagina stretched to the size of me. Like, we went out, we was kind of shook, like blood, shit, cramps, shit. Like, we think about the levels of things that they preach to us women about, you know what I'm saying? Not even realizing that if men were more aware of the female anatomy first, if we started teaching men in school a little bit about the female anatomy first, and then making them learn about their penis, I personally think we would end up with better partners, happier homes. Because you know, women, the rate of divorce is based off of a lot of women actually are not sexually pleased and happy by their partner and feel neglected, and that sex is one-sided. This is certain things you can literally Google, you know what I'm saying? But also, another note to that would be male birth control. Why are we not pushing this? There is no things to their sterilization as far as except for a vasectomy, in which they don't allow them to have until 21. Now what? That's like them saying, "Wait up, buddy." You know what I'm saying? What if an 18-year-old
Yeah.
man decides
It's
I
pretty
want
much
to
only condoms, right? So,
only
and
condoms?
abstinence
Yes.
is the only thing
But
that
hear me
people
out,
teach
right?
about.
If we
So,
had a pill that the boys needed to go to, as soon as we hear them little deep box changing and that little Adam's apple, they lion ass Adam's apple start coming out, that's when we need to get them boys to get to that doctor. That's when they take a pill or either a shot the same way we do, or that 7-year IUD inside of their penis that'll still allow them to shoot sperm, but that sperm will not be active. Then when the male decides, because it is up to them to seek out and find women if we want to stay in some type of gender role area, and when they decide they want to go and seek out a woman, then that's when I feel like they should go to a doctor and ask that, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to stop being on this medication or have a reversal, that I found the partner that I would like to impregnate. And that makes so much more of the difference of men knocking up women that they don't want, claiming they don't want to be on child support, running from the situation, the whole nine, because I took the time
yeah.
to go to this doctor and I felt it in my heart that this was my partner.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So, really quick, I want to
Tia,
finish
Wait,
this.
Tia's sound's not working, I think. Oh, wait, maybe not. Maybe
It's
I'm just
working
looking
fine
at
for
the
me.
screen.
So really quick,
Yes.
I do want to wrap up the facts because it's been sitting on our stream. So I do want to get through that so we can talk about just the factual side of things. Shelby, if you want to wrap that up.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so one of the questions that we have to be able to answer as well is like, who is actually having an abortions, and like when are they having them? So when we look down here, so at 5 weeks, this is again, like around 1 month when you would be pregnant, and again, this is a time period, 5 weeks, where a woman might not have like
So your
any
period might
ideas
be
that
1
she
week late right here, which is
yeah,
completely normal.
completely normal. And this is what's happening here is the embryonic development is beginning. So cells are coming together, the brain is starting to, and these are cells again. So even when I'm saying brain and heart, these are still like cells that are forming, and the spinal cord. At this time, the embryo is sesame seed sized. So you think about a McDonald's Big Mac and all the little seed things on there. That's how big this little thing is about the size of a sesame seed. And again, like a woman may have no idea that she's pregnant at this point. Then we have at 8 weeks, a heartbeat is now present. Arms, legs, eyes, ears, and lungs are starting to be developed. And at this point, the embryo is kidney bean size. Now, I want to point out here, so this is about 2 months into a pregnancy. This is where 2/3 of all abortion cases happens in the first 8 weeks. So within the first 2 months of somebody finding out that they are pregnant, this is a majority of when abortion cases occur. When we go over to 10 to 13 weeks, and to put that into context, this is about the 3-month point. Embryo becomes fetus. This is like the scientific side of the distinction that they make. Development continues in all the same areas that were listed before, and at this point, the fetus is a kumquat size, and I don't even know what. I know that's like, I think a fruit or something like that.
Like an
but
apricot.
like an apricot kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I've never
It's
eaten
smaller than
A
that.
walnut with a
kumquat
shell on
is
it.
like
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
So
like
still,
3 grapes.
this 3-month mark, we're still talking very small. There's heartbeat present, but in terms of consciousness, or what we generally like talk about when we have cases of like people who become like brain dead or something, right? Like there's like a consciousness issue here. This point at 13 weeks, so again, 3 months, 91% of all abortions occur within 3 months, which I think is a big thing to talk about. That means only 9% of abortions happen after the 3-month mark.
I think that has a lot to do with just like who's really actively, tracking for pregnancy. Unless you're planning and trying, there's a lot of women.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes, like, I mean, again, we have to keep in context too in terms of the 3 months. So there's 1 month where a girl misses a period, no big deal. Like, if you're not trying to have a baby, you're not taking a pregnancy test most likely, unless you knowingly had unprotected sex. But
or you have tons of symptoms where you're throwing up every morning, you can't keep things down, your tastes and cravings are different.
Things are more obvious.
Exactly. That gives you time to adjust to the information, figure out what the hell am I going to do, and then also making an appointment. You can't just walk in same day and like, or at least I'm not going to say you can't, but like.
Also, to add, there are a lot of times when women have reported spotting as well throughout them first 3 months.
Yes.
So in their mind, you feel me? And you understand what I'm saying? And like being pregnant, I can recall, I'm like, there was some, you're like, oh, it almost scares you. Like, okay, no, it's okay, as long as it's spotty. So you're like, was I blessed with
There are women who have full-term 9 to 10 month pregnancies and they had their period the entire time. It is not uncommon. So I think the biggest thing to point out here as far as the statistics being at 3 months is where the Texas abortion law comes into play here, because they are saying after 6 weeks, it's illegal, and they're going to take action, criminal action towards women, and potentially have anybody rat them out if they do get an abortion after that 6-week mark, which is only if your period has been missed by 2 weeks. You might not even show symptoms. You might have an irregular period. So that's really not enough time to really decide between yourself, your partner, if you have one, and your doctor, if this is a right decision for you.
If you even have a doctor.
Yeah. Right. Because we all know that is a privilege to have medical professionals. Let's see. I think your name is pronounced Wild Dime. He says, trust us men, if there was a pill shot we could take to prevent pregnancy, every guy on the planet would line up. I mean, yeah, that is true. Guys don't want to wear condoms. And I'm not going to lie, a lot of women don't.
I didn't say that it would protect against STDs. So I can't say that every man would line up, as each man, there's this weird fake dominant thing in men that when you say, you spit in blanks, it's not always the most popular thing to hear. Now, is it nobody's business? No. But I don't think that very much men would actually be that be happy about allowing some of their self, ability taken away from them without them. If they didn't have a decision. If you woke up,
that goes hand in hand, though.
You wouldn't feel that way. I don't know. I want to know if you would, though. That's very
definitely.
Good question, I mean, I don't know. I think it's a very good statement. It makes me wonder now the statistics of men that are willing, because boy.
And then something else that
be aware of like the male's feelings and like emotions they might feel towards it, but like my experience with birth control, that was the most awful part of my life. Like
that's exactly what I was just about to say. Yes.
In my body, and I understand there's non-hormonal, birth controls, but even multiple friends of mine have had major issues trying to get approval for these long-term non-hormonal birth controls because they need consent of a man, and these doctors are asking for consent of just a boyfriend, not even married women. These girls are single or just with boyfriends. So that part really tripped me out when I learned that was happening.
Yeah, so as far as birth control, I think that is one reason why men haven't been or they haven't created like a more long-term birth control for men, because if anyone has ever experienced or been around, that's a man, a woman who's on birth control, just do me a favor and open that box of pills and pull out the pamphlet of warning signs that's going to go at least 6 feet long of all the potential things that could happen to your body, all the things that they warn you of, cancers and diseases, and it's insane how many things. Side effects are crazy. You're going to gain weight. There's only one current IUD right now that is non-hormonal. It's a copper implant. I happen to have that, but I had to get off of hormonal birth control because I gained so much weight on it. And it was just not the right thing for me, and my body just did not react well to that. But it would be really nice if more men did their research about reversible vasectomies, and more of the responsibility was placed on men. That's something that I would love to see, definitely.
That's actually something that I was thinking about when Tia was talking earlier, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, when we're talking about this, like, we have to keep in mind too, like, why the responsibility is placed on women, other than the fact that, like, we're literally the ones who are carrying the child. But like, also when we're talking about family dynamics, when there's brothers, sisters, and stuff going on, most of the time it is sisters who are supposed to be taking care of the younger siblings. Like, it's often like the girls' roles in family to be the ones who are looking how to cook, or sorry, learning how to cook, learning how to clean. You know, we're taught by our family members to take care of the people around us. And I don't think that in our society men are held as accountable for taking care of them in, you know, in those types of actions. Of course, like, there is some gender role of men being breadwinners, but I think that's quite a different role. And what if, like, you know, when we're in high school, why do, like, or boys, why aren't they the ones that are going home with the fake crying baby at night? Why is it that the girls are the ones who want to go home with the crying baby?
I never got to do that. Boys, I'm mad about it.
I think we lost funding for it by the time we were at that age in high school, because I remember either a year or two ahead of us, they had the option to do that in class, and then we lost funding by the
They're
time
like, y'all gonna have babies anyways, y'all don't need to practice.
yeah, exactly.
No, definitely. I think some of the accountability that I'm talking about more of, and I kind of do have a little bit of a controversial, opinion as far as abortions. I do think men should have a say whether or not they want to be involved in the child's life prior to the baby being born. But it's also really hard because there's like a specific timeline of when you can have an abortion. I think it is important to bring up the other side of it, and just talk about it, because I know there are people out there who say, well, what about this and what about that? So one thing that I did want to bring up is a lot of people like to talk about third trimester abortions and how often those happen. So one thing that I wanted to say is that when people bring that up, what they're not accounting for is that third trimester abortions are really something that is super, super serious. You have to get multiple doctors to approve it. And these only make up for less than 1% of abortions every single year. So it's not like women are going out there and carrying a baby 2, 7, 8, 9 months and then deciding to get an abortion. It's when you're at that stage, you already have a name picked out. You felt your baby move, possibly. You have, supplies that you've bought, like a crib. You've done a baby shower. And finding out some terrible news from your doctor, like, listen, if you have this baby, this could be life-threatening for you. You could die while having this baby. Or on the other side, your baby could die, or your baby will not survive this pregnancy. Your baby is not healthy enough. They're not developing properly. These are all decisions that should not be made by the mass public or people in government. To me, I feel like this is a very personal decision. This is something that, is extremely emotional and a difficult time for the mother to decide. And it needs to be done with the mom, her family, and her doctor. And I think it's really, really scary how comfortable people feel giving their input on things like that, given that these abortions are so rare in the third trimester. But I did want to bring that up because I do feel like it's important to address that, because a lot of the facts that we did bring up were stating, 91% of abortions happen within the first 10 to 13 weeks. And that's, yes, there is a heartbeat, but the baby is not developed. And it really comes down to if you consider that a baby or not. Can it breathe on its own? No. Can it sustain itself on its own? No.
I just want to throw in with that too. That's something that's even debated by the medical field itself. There's a lot of different like scientific and medical reasoning for division on what constitutes as kind of a human that will come.
Very true, very true. And then the biggest thing about it all, when it comes to that 1%, that very small percentage that is dealing with that third trimester, abortion, usually a lot of times they've been notified that your baby may potentially be stillbirth. That means that when you have this baby, it is not going to have a heartbeat. It is dead. It is a dead baby inside of you. But the problem with allowing that abortion sometimes to take place, what they say is that there could be a shock that the mom goes through in a sense, or it's like something, it's like a shock that basically the mom, they don't want to send the mom through. And it's like, that doesn't really make sense. There's only one, there really isn't very many reasonings why they say they can't do such. Or either they believe that there's a small chance that if they let the baby continue on, that they can save the baby, and you know what I'm saying, over enough time, let it cook up some more. But for most, at that time, there are some women who know that it's a completely done wrap. It's a wrap deal. And they look at their stomach and they feel that kick no longer, they're looking for it, but they don't feel it. You know what I mean? Every day they wake up and they realize their belly is not even as hard or firm. There's no rotation. There's no back or butt pushing out, no elbow rolling anymore. They know that this is a wrap. So in what stance is like, do they have the right to tell a woman, no, ma'am, you need to wait a few more months for what? It's not cooking. It's done breathing.
Yeah, it has to be decided between the doctor. You have to get approval. It's a very serious situation that happens. And so
they try to make it legally so that you hit that 9-month mark.
Yeah. So I think it's a big talking point to kind of suppress a lot of people's feelings to be pro-choice. We feel some type of way, all four of us. We're not here to sway anybody's decision or not. I think it's just really important because we are a podcast made up of 4 women. 2 of us are mothers. Shelby and Tia are mothers. I'm not a mother. I wanted to make sure that was clear. But you know what? It's a really big topic that even if we haven't specifically gone through that ourselves, it does affect us, and what it communicates to us, a state being able to decide what we do as women with our bodies, I think is very scary, given the history. So yeah, thank you guys for being active in the chat. If you guys are not following and would like to keep up with us, get your live notifications. We're live Sundays and Wednesdays. Give us a follow. We'd really appreciate it. And you guys can also follow us on Instagram at loudproudsobbing. And we look forward to bringing more content. It's not always going to be, hot topic, things like this. We really don't want to bring topics in that are more controversial or divisive. Our goal here is really to bring people together, to share our experiences, to share our opinions. And so we look forward to doing that in the future. So the next thing that I really wanted to get your guys' opinion on is the accountability that men have in this situation, and accountability of men as a whole, really. And I just want to preface this by saying I'm not trying to hate on men. Don't take this personally. I think it's just very common that women take a lot of the blame and sort of, just bring up topics as far as like what potentially it could look like if men did have accountability within a pregnancy. So right now, in Texas, after 6 weeks, if you get an abortion, you're going to be pursued criminally for jail time. And there are 2 people, right, that it takes to make a baby. So why do you guys think they aren't holding men accountable as well? And yeah, I kind of want to open that up and let you guys elaborate.
I think that there's like a lot of separation that comes in like Western culture. And so I don't know, like I think that we've really just done a disservice through a course of history of really separating what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman and like how that looks. And women are, we're the ones who are carrying the children. And so for us, like in some capacity, like there's no separation. Like this is coming from me. It is within me. It's eating what I eat. It's hearing what I hear. It's, like we can't have sort of that idea of separation, whereas men, like they can just like they're not having to change their
Bounce.
sleeping position, they're not having to pay attention to what they're eating or doing with it or what choices they're kind of like making or not making. So I feel like that's where some of the accountability comes into play or doesn't, is just in that like major difference of who is
Yeah.
feeling the experience. But go ahead, T. I saw you were ready for something.
I mean, when I think about it, sometimes I want to be optimistic and say, well, why don't they have the that much accountability in the situation? But blankly, I just want to say it's because it's a toxic masculine thing. You understand what I'm saying? It's an overall system of toxic masculinity, not just men in general. Not every man is like you get it, but the overall system that has been made, like I said, by men, unfortunately, is a toxic setup. And unfortunately, I don't, like I said, there's not too many ways that I know that we can reverse it. But I just think the more that we can teach them and to try to make them respect the process a little bit more, um, that's a start. You know what I mean? I think that's a start a little bit. Um, because how do you guys feel? This isn't to throw anybody, but how do you guys feel with men being able to get maternity leave and the men that are not
Yeah.
even spending that time at home with the women? Like,
I mean, I definitely feel like, first of all, the United States is not some country that meets other countries at this playing field.
For
Right
women
now, it's
even.
very difficult for
Right.
for women to get maternity leave at the amount that they really should. But I definitely feel like it's important for a father to be able to take that time off and build that connection with the baby. I mean, honestly, like anybody who's ever been around children, like the mom is like their most important thing. It's how they get food, it's their source of life, it's their comfort. So really babies don't really care about their dads as much, but I definitely think it's important to build that connection. I did want to bring up, as far as the accountability part, do you guys think that if a man decides early in the pregnancy that he does not want to be involved, he should be required to pay child support?
I mean, so for me, right, that's my story that we can put on here, right? I was 24 years old, had an unplanned pregnancy, already had broken up with with my son's father. I really use that term quite loosely. Um, and I chose not to take child support because I already knew going into it that I didn't want to be involved. Or sorry, not that that he wasn't going to be involved. And I left that open for him, and he's never seemed to try to be involved. But in any case, so for me, I was like, okay, well, I can, choose to abort, I can choose adoption, I can choose to have the baby. And like where I was at for like my own personal life, I was like, um, I can take on this responsibility. I feel like I am in a place where I can have a child and I can do that by myself. I have a good support system. I have the best support system, is what I should say. I have a very close-knit family. I've been lucky enough to, live. I finished school so that I can start my career, and that's a whole separate thing. But so for me personally, I don't believe that men should necessarily be forced to pay child support, because I think that there does have to be women's accountability as well about what they are choosing to put themselves into. Um, but that being said, there are a lot of cases where men say, oh, I want to be involved, I'm going to be there, and they're there for some time, and then, oh, all of a sudden, for whatever reason, they just like choose otherwise. And so, I'm kind of, I don't like a government entity forcing anything on anybody in some ways. Um, but yeah, I think there has to be accountability and understanding of what you're getting into when you decide you're going to get into it.
Yeah, because I mean, it's two people, right? So I think, to me, it would be fair if a man signed over his rights as a father.
Absolutely.
But then that's the women deciding that you're going to be the sole financial responsible party for this child, and you're making that decision. And I think men should have a little bit of a say as far as that, because there are men that do want to have children, but it really ultimately should be the woman's decision, because she's carrying the baby, she's going through all the symptoms, she's going to be most likely the person taking care of them. But yeah, I did want to pose that question. What do you think about that, Tia?
I mean, like, that for me definitely goes back into, like I said, we have to take so much pleasure out of it. You can't have something, like, we all know that something that breaks you down, hard work, sweat, tears, nausea, diarrhea, whatever it may be, growing.
Pregnancy sucks.
It does. It's a beautiful, shitty process. You feel me? And there's some days where your skin is glowing and you feel like that, what? But then there's some days where you just feel completely broken and used. Like, get the fuck out me. Like, what is this? So, with that being said, on the men's behalf, all they're taught from day one, low key, is pleasure. Pleasure, 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 in a sense. This is how you get pleasure. This is how you cover up, your pleasure, or what I'm saying, whatever it may be to a certain extent. So, with all that pleasure being in there, how are we gonna make people feel like there's supposed to be, more like responsibility in that? Women from day one, we learn responsibility in sex ed. Like we said, there's responsibility to the fact that, hey, you need to know when your cycle is, because you don't want to bleed out on this chair. Okay, you need to know when. There's so many things that we learn. What does a man learn, but besides from his peers, that he gets a boner in class to tuck it in his little, what I'm saying? Be honest. Men talk. I've been around a lot of friends. All right, I know some shit.
Absolutely.
But the talk is so stupid and simple, unfortunately. Let's be honest, that we have to be more real and start. It starts. That's something that sexual education can start with a little bit. That's how we got to take that root to the root issue. Take it there, so then the men will realize there's more responsibility behind what you're doing with that penis, not just busting a nut. Because how many men want to be on child support? They don't want to be on child support, right? But they'll say, I didn't want the baby. Oh no, but you remember having sex with her, right? Yeah, but I pulled out. But how much did you know about your penis? Because if you would have learned more about your penis, you realize that the pull-out game is never effective. No, I got me. Oh, well, if you got you, depending on her, now that goes back to, if you learn about the vagina, then you would understand that maybe it just happened that her was just fluid enough to grab them fluids and take them where they needed to go. So you didn't know about the
Some women are very fertile. Some women are some women are not.
Yeah.
But y'all don't know how to decipher that much. You may only know how to
But
decipher,
it comes down to the sexual education and understanding
Yeah.
how a baby can be made as easy and how, mistakes can be made. Mistakes happen. So the reason why I bring that up is because I think it's really important, right, to say, if a guy does want to abort the baby, he should have some say in it. But that being said, okay, why are they putting laws on women, but at the same time they won't give women a life insurance policy for this baby during the pregnancy? The women should start getting child support from the moment they get pregnant, going back to the night that the baby was made, since we're calling it a baby, right? And they should be able to qualify for government assistance programs. Now, one thing that I did want to talk about that we didn't even touch on, which goes back to why women have abortions, not everyone is in a situation where they have family, where they have a partner. You know, mistakes do happen. Sex is not just for baby making. Sex is pleasure, right? And we've been having sex as a species for thousands of years. So one thing that I did want to bring up with that, and I'm losing my fucking train of thought, you guys. So yeah, just having more benefits. So if you don't have a family, right, and you're a single woman, and now you found out your pregnancy after 6 weeks, and you can't get an abortion now, I really want to know how the government is really going to help them. Because first of all, let's say she does qualify for welfare, she does qualify for food stamps, she does qualify for daycare assistance, but there is an income eligibility for that, right? So maybe she does send her newborn baby to daycare, which is paid through the government. She's getting food stamps and she's getting assistance, EBT, and she's maybe getting subsidized housing. So does she stay at that job and she can never accept a raise ever in her life, because now that places her outside of the bracket to qualify for all of these things? What if the guy doesn't want to be involved? What if she doesn't have family? I think these are all things that we really have to think about and bring up, because it's really not fair for so many people to criticize and judge the reason why when they really don't have, you know, what is that woman's 5-year plan? She can't get a raise at her job because now she's going to lose her daycare. She's going to lose food stamps. She's a single mother. So if the government is coming so strong with the laws as far as when an abortion is legal, they need to come strong with the assistance. And that starts while she's pregnant. And that's just my thoughts on it.
And just to run back a second, you know what I mean? I think that there's a very tricky situation with the child support stuff and everything like that, and the man wanting to give up rights. Now, because I'm just going to throw a scenario. There's a lot of things going on, you know, in society with women, bitter baby mamas. This is a big thing. This is a real thing. Women, you know, us as nature, sometimes we can get hurt in the core, and because we feel that our baby was closer to our core, that, you know what I mean, the issue that my core feels, it is bigger, and it does set you in front of it sits in front of your child. Some women, like I said, that is true. That's just the way they operate. Now, with that being said, there are women that are making men and demanding rights, but withholding children from that man that pays every month, that is now no longer able to fit into his regular bills. So he's kind of forced to find another mate or a roommate or something to even live above the means now. But he's even, you know what I'm saying, what if the man is wanting the rights of a father, or, you know what I mean, and wants to have decision, and maybe where his child goes, if it goes out the country, where, you know, what school or something of that nature, and that woman gets to withhold that type of, you know, information. There is a little bit of power, that women have turned sourly, but that is the power that has been this pull and tug war because of the government set us in between each other. This is literally it. Yeah. And when I say by the government set us in between each other, you know what I'm saying? There's a government gap. It's called the welfare trap, to double back on what you were saying, Janelle. And some women, it is very true that if you have a man in your household and you, as a joint, file for welfare, they will deny you, you know what I'm saying, based off
because of your household income, right?
Because of your household income, and he should be making this, and you da. But let me turn around and say, get out of here. I'm gonna go by myself and go in there by myself as a single woman. There is a chances of me getting help a little bit more. Now, there is obviously a double entendre. It puts me in a trap of, they want me to do all these fucking classes for this little bit amount of fucking money. Then when I do find a job, I can't have this much money, because then they want to help me with getting just enough money. They want me just to make enough money so that their money makes me feel like, oh, thank you so much. So it's a big, weird spiritual trap thing with this welfare and this baby mama daddy system. But if a man wants to give up his rights and is behind on child support and is not receiving any type of help as far as, you know, mutualizing co-parenting, he doesn't know where she goes to school, he's asking, she's not replying, he's trying to pick her up, she's denying, whatever, you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, when it comes to that type of tug and pull with a female, if a man decides to give up his rights, I definitely think when it gets into that type of situation, he should be able to walk away from that situation adoption if he can prove to the courts that she's not allowing him parental rights. But at the beginning, it's too iffy to say if this man's gonna change, grow up on time, when his ball's gonna drop, and when he wants to be. You know what I'm saying? Because we all know from the get go, men mature a little bit later than females. So that lets us know from the get go. Unfortunately, yeah, it is mommy's baby, and it's gonna be daddy's. Maybe if he decides to step in and do his part. So it's
Right.
unfortunate, but it goes down to so many little things. You feel me? And that's just my little opinion
Yeah.
on that.
And Wild hit it on the dot. It's punishing the woman. It's
Yeah.
punishing her. It's putting all of the decision and stress in her court. There are women out there who definitely are not fair to their child's father. That does happen, but it also comes down to responsibility and being responsible when you do have sex with someone, unprotected or not, making sure you know that person, because babies can happen. Babies are surprises, and babies are for life. So,
Drop of anything, see-through
so
stuff.
yeah, it's definitely important. I think overall for me, I'm just really, really put off by the fact that this state can pass this law so quickly, overnight. And that's what scares me the most,
So
definitely.
Tesla, I gotta ask, do you think if Hillary Clinton would have made office, that we would have made a little bit more progress on the feminine movement?
I think, yeah, in a general sense, I think we could have made progress and be like, okay, well, here's a female, she's in office, you just gotta accept it for what it is for the next 40 years. But then also, it's so embedded, like, patriarchy is so embedded in America that, like, from the smallest things, it's like, okay, even though, like, as a couple, we may have our names on our house, when they send the mail in, it has the male's name on top of the female's. Whether she put the down payment on that house or that car, it's always the male's name. It's so embedded in the little things, like
Absolutely, the systemic aspects. Absolutely.
yeah, that I think we would have had to touch the surface of that conversation, but I don't think it would have made any major differences for female rights or just females being comfortable in public. Because I know as a female, we go into public and we are like, we're more conscious of what's going around. We're more aware of who's moving what direction, especially I'm sure if you ladies have babies, like just being more aware of your surroundings as a woman. And then in the household with kids, like there's so much information that a female holds, whether it be medical information, birthdays, when the freaking trash gets taken out, like they're the main information holders of the household. So, but then it's like, okay, well, where's the line drawn where the male again has to take responsibility? It's like, are you just lazy or you really don't have access to that information? Like, if you're a responsible
Yeah, and Tesla,
parent,
you're hitting on a lot of things here. I think this definitely touches on what I said about like male accountability. Definitely for me personally, I don't think having Hillary Clinton office I wouldn't have given a fuck. Like,
yeah, no, sir, I kind of went
to have a woman in office is nice. I mean, it's great. Like, we check a box, like we've been president. I think she wasn't really the person that,
right, yeah,
as women we would have chosen, but
I just don't think that would have been the lady for young women or young ladies to look up to.
Yeah, and it goes back to, male accountability. I work in the insurance industry, and if I get a call from a dad, I dread it. Because if a dad is calling about his kid, he barely even knows their fucking birthday. So, trying to get the information on, who's their doctor? What's the insurance number? What's his date of birth? Trying to just even get the verifying details to speak with that person is like pulling teeth. Go ahead.
Also, and then there's also some that I know some ladies that will not give out that information on a bitter note. Like, why are you asking now? Sometimes, you know what I'm saying? It's okay to give out certain information, obviously not the social, but majority information that he's asking for, let him try. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
I mean,
Yeah.
growing up, like, I saw a video one time and it was just like obviously like Jimmy Kimmel interviewing dads or whatever, and I thought it was hilarious because they would ask like, "Oh, who's your daughter's best friend?" and the dads would never know, or like, "What's your child's doctor's name?" It just comes down to, and not all men are
Right.
like that. Quincy will
But
not be like that. He's gonna be an involved
well, and then I think it depends on the
parent.
father because statistically proven, you know what I mean, you ask a dad though what type of what's the kid's favorite superhero, and they may know that information, you know what I'm saying, or what makes their kid upset and shit like that. Some dads
Yeah.
do know that before
Some,
they
yeah.
know what pant size, shirt size, and things like that. But before we get too deeper into it, you feel me, I also wanted to ask Tesla, what was that question that I had regarding just the fact that I wanted to know what you thought about men, you know what I'm saying, being able to just maybe if they only had a say about like why their Viagra is free and the fact that, you know, our products, birth control, you
Yeah.
know, things like that cost so much money monthly,
Tampons, yeah.
tampons and stuff. Like, what do you think about the fact that they are? I just want your opinion on, you know what I'm saying, something like that.
That they tax feminine products, stuff like that. Is that
Well,
what
it's
you're
called
kind
the
of hitting
pink
on?
tax. It's called the
Yep.
pink tax. So basically, female things that we have to pay for, where if it was in the male's perspective, they don't have to pay for that. Birth controls is most of the time covered by insurance, and Viagra is as well. But we also, experience a monthly cycle, and we don't have free tampons or pads or anything like that. So talking about the
Right.
pink tax, our deodorant is more expensive, our hair products are more expensive, things like that. Why can, men have a body wash and women have a body wash? It's the same brand, but the men's one is cheaper.
It's just
That's
more
called the pink
expensive to
tax.
be a girl in general, yeah.
It is more
Yeah.
expensive, and then they put more norms and certain things on us. And so let's talk about real fast. You know, this story came, guys. I have this really shocking, controversial story that's kind of really on topic with what we got going on here right now. You know, the way we're going, baby mama, baby daddy, abortion, non-abortion, stillbirth. Is it not a stillbirth? This is a serious story, unfortunately, and basically, I'm gonna give you guys a rundown. A former Ohio cheerleader was previously accused of killing her newborn daughter. She buried the infant in her parents' backyard, but has since then been released from her probation so she can now attend law school. Okay, to wrap this up, there is a girl named Brooke Richardson, and please look into this, you guys, because I feel like the first 48 episode is season 33, episode 3. Please look
Okay.
into it. It is something interesting because as a mother, it shakes my bones. And as anybody who has an opinion on pro-abortion or not abortion, this will shook you up. You feel me? You going? This is like, hold on. So Brooke Skylar Richardson was 18 years old. She's out of high school. She was senior, and she secretly gave birth to a baby girl. When she gave birth in the bathroom, she was obviously shook, and she buried the daughter, the baby girl, in her backyard. Now, she claims she was unaware of her pregnancy until 32 weeks, okay? 32 weeks. That brings back to what we were saying. How the hell did she not know? But in this situation, we're going to say she knew. I don't know. I don't know. Let's keep reading. So, she claims that the infant was a stillborn when she gave birth, okay? Now, the background on Brooke, she's 18. She's from a small town. She's got a very wealthy family. Her and her brother are very known for sports. She is a cheerleader. She is known for flying and doing a high V, low V, the whole nine. You feel me? She unfortunately has been hiding an eating disorder. So her mom is kind of aware of the fact that she, has some subconscious things going on with her weight and the way she looks and certain things like that. Well, she went to a doctor's appointment with her daughter as she noticed her daughter was coming to senior year and was getting a lot of attention from men, and decided, let's take you to the gynecologist to get on birth control. There it is again, right? Your daughter's just because she's looking pretty and maturing into the woman she's supposed to be. There it is, y'all. So they go to the doctor, and her mom, obviously, because she's 18, does not go into the gynecologist with her daughter. She waits in the car. Returning Brooke, Brooke is crying. Her mom does not ask her daughter why you're crying, which I would have asked as a parent, like, hold on, what did
Right.
he do to you? Because yes, it was a male gynecologist doctor. Okay.
Mm.
Now, in that appointment, obviously, we find out Brooke was crying because she realized that he told her, "You are 8 months pregnant. I cannot give you birth control, baby. It's a wrap." So, with that being disguised, she went home, like I said, hid the baby, supposedly did not show. The whole pregnancy, she gained approximately only 25 pounds. This is what they say. And when you go back to it, she wakes up one morning. She says that she went into labor in the upstairs bathroom of her house on a Saturday, and the baby was supposedly born still. Well, nobody knows that to be true, but the mother claims she also didn't know about her daughter being pregnant. She had no idea as she took her to the gynecologist to get checked, and the father claims to be oblivious to the nature of his daughter being pregnant, sleeping with people, or let alone killing the baby. So oblivious is running around her family as they pick the cookie cutter home. They don't want to believe that their daughter was, having sex, doing the whole nine. And there's no way. Skylar has had a eating disorder. We thought her throwing up was a regular thing, as she threw up, pretty normally, because that's what she did to stay low on weight. So, with this moving on, sheriff gets notified by the gynecologist because Brooke decided, obviously, after she had the baby in the upstairs bathroom, she wrapped it up, took it outstairs in her backyard, dug a hole, put the baby inside the hole, patted the dirt back down, and put a flower there to mark the spots. She realized, well, like I said, because after you have a baby, there's a lot of things men don't know. That body, you have to take out that sac, and there's a lot of things that have to be cleaned out and for things to get back to normal. Well, obviously, she did it at home and by herself. There were some complications. She went back to the doctor, and that's when she had to notify the gynecologist that obviously he was aware and seen. You had a baby at home. Where's the baby? Well, she told the gynecologist it was a stillbirth and that she went ahead and buried the baby in her backyard and let him know that there was a flower marking the location. So knock, knock, knock at her door comes the sheriff, and he's trying to hide it from the parents what he's investigating their daughter for. He tells the parents that we need to speak to Brooke. We have accusations coming from the gynecologist on her behalf, but we can't tell you guys exactly what it is yet. So they do interview her by herself without her parents there. Okay, and with that being said, they did find the baby in the backyard, and they, dug it up and they took it and presented it to the parents. The parents acted once again oblivious, shocked to that nature. Now, which seemed very weird because the next day, the investigators took the phone records and was able to see texts coming back and forth from Brooke and her mom talking about Brooke. She said, I'm in the gym today. She took a picture. They took a snapshot of their picture that she posted on Snapchat, talking about how she couldn't wait to get her body back. She texted her mom saying, I feel so great now and relieved of the situation. I never want to do this again. She didn't put any specifics in the text message, but that is indicating something, right? So she was obviously booked. They took her down. They booked her for $50,000 bail. They took her from her home that day and they put her in jail. Her parents came up with the money immediately. So she did not spend any time in jail. But unfortunately, she was sent home on an ankle bracelet. They then had time to investigate her story. That's when forensic came that she burned the baby. And to run it back, Tam, this is episode 33. Season 33 of the first 48, episode 3. Okay.
Oh, shit, my info is all wrong.
Okay, that's okay. That's all right. First 48 episode. You feel me? Season 33, because they got a lot of seasons. And it's the episode 3, Brooke Richardson. Like I said, so Brooke, they then started the investigation. The forensics that dug up the baby started to do an autopsy. They then realized that the baby had actually been burned, okay, and then buried. So then the mother, the whole time was trying to stop the interviews, saying that Brooke had been threatened and their home had been breached and multiple different things. But as she slipped up on a few interviews when the mother wasn't home, that she slips up and mentions that she remembers a lighter, but she doesn't really remember burning the baby. Then in another interview states that, well, I was trying to give my baby the proper cremation burial. So she said the investigator.
This is fucking crazy.
This is many, guys. The investigator asked the girl, hey, are you sure it was a stillbirth? Are you sure you didn't kill your baby? She says, no, I didn't kill my baby. But he says, well, did you notice any forms of life any crying, murmuring. Then she then admits she saw the arms moving and heard gurgling coming from her baby. Okay. Now, mind you guys, with all this going on, there's more details coming out. This is an active case right now. This happened in 2018 in Ohio, high school. Former, you know how this goes, guys. So the parents are definitely trying to fight on her behalf, but they're trying to say that the baby was born, stillborn, with no harm, and that she held the baby tied out of love on her way down to the backyard to give the baby a proper burying. That if the baby was alive, she was mistaken and maybe have suffocated the baby on the way to bury the baby, which makes no sense.
So that makes
So,
me wonder, like, is she?
tied out of love.
She's got to be influenced by the parents, or like, was she psychologically evaluated? Whereas any of these
So this is the thing. The influence that I'm building up as I look into the case. Her family in Ohio is a very, very huge on image family. Keep up with the Joneses.
That's
Our
what
image
makes me think that.
And with that going on, it's such a dangerous, situation that she wasn't even able to tell her mother when she had this baby in the bathroom that, you know what I'm saying? And her mother pleaded that she was shocked about it. But yet the text messages right now that it's being investigated show otherwise, because the last 2 years she's just been home on an ankle bracelet. But it's looking right now that she might get a year in prison, in which makes
This is
me
crazy.
sick. Makes
She
me
murdered
sick.
her baby. I
She
think one
murdered
thing I did see
She was
on this.
influenced to murder her baby.
Yeah.
One thing I saw on this too, which is really disturbing to me, is that after she had the baby, she went to the gym, took a body picture showing her stomach, and she said, "Hey mom, I'm finally getting my body back," because her mom did mention to her that she was gaining a little weight. She actually did go to prom like 8 or 9 months pregnant, and you couldn't really tell. Just maybe looked like she had a little bloating or just ate dinner or something like that. So how disturbing is that she, did take a body picture kind of flaunting that she did lose weight and, oh, I'm excited to finally get my body back. I think it really speaks to the pressure that has been put on her by her family. And that's another thing we could talk about as far as like female pressure, our bodies, stereotypically, like our moms do put a lot of pressure on us to be, eating a certain way and losing weight and not gaining weight. And so it does sound like she was going through a lot of that. But I definitely think, and a few people did mention this in the chat, she was going through a lot of mental issues, mental illness. Yeah, definitely. Because, it takes a lot for someone to find out they're pregnant and to not seek help, to immediately think that they can just take care of this on their own. And
Well,
going
that's
as far
the
as
thing that I was
murdering
thinking.
their baby in their backyard
She
is crazy.
definitely knew I think in her defense, and I'm not, by any means defending a baby killer, but what I will say is in her defense, her having an eating disorder, that is a mental disorder, you know what I mean? And that is a real pandemic that people don't pay attention to in itself. But with that mental disorder, I can understand that she didn't feel the symptoms of her potentially being pregnant because she wasn't eating enough. The baby was malnourished, so there is that possibility that the baby could have came out still. But with her descriptive, interviews, she kind of takes that out. But I will say, if there was a chance for her to know that she was pregnant, I do think that she would have probably just went and got an abortion. She
And
had
this does
enough.
speak to what kinds of cases will happen and the certain things that young
will.
children that do get pregnant with unplanned pregnancies are going to resort in their undeveloped minds of what they can do to get rid of this, because they're going to get in so much trouble from their parents, and not having the option to have an abortion early on or whenever
Now,
is
with
scary.
that being said, we have to take into account her family. They're a very well off family. Okay, so to say that there wouldn't be support, in what kind of stance? Mental support. The mental obviously is a trap in itself. We have to get out of our mental as people, and we have to stay somewhat logical, as there isn't too many people in the world to go all the way sympathetic in certain things in certain situations. So with me taking, a little bit of sympathy out of it a little bit, no, shorty, you had all the support that you needed. You had mommy and daddy in a household that you were used to. The only problem that it was, and that the jury didn't fight hard enough to make her go down on, is the fact that it didn't fit your image. it didn't fit your image. You had a family image that you guys worked on, and that was the biggest thing to your mom. So if anything, your mom probably was with you on the fact of like, this doesn't this doesn't work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, one thing that this is just a heartbreaking story to me and like a lot of different ways, but the thing that I just cannot shake is the parental involvement, the parental responsibility from her parents. Because I'm sorry, but if my child is coming home and like, what is she wearing baggy clothes? Like, how is she hiding this pregnancy? And how are the parents so separate from their child that they're not noticing differences? Because there's got to be hormone differences, there's got to be health differences, there's got to be visual physical differences that are occurring. And how are you just so separate? And like that to me comes down to a societal thing. Like we live in a society now where a lot of times for families to be affluent or whatever, parents are not largely at home taking care of their children. They are working. Both parents are working 40 hours a week. When they are home, the last thing they want to do is be like griping and yelling and at odds with their children. They just want to come home and like relax too. So for me, like I look at it from a societal point of like we should not be existing in a society where both parents economically have to be gone for 40 hours out of an entire week, and oftentimes more than 40 hours. I think it does a huge disservice to our family relationships. I think it does a huge disservice to just our presence with our children, and that impacts people in a number of ways. So I have a hard time with this just from the parental aspect of her parents. And then honestly, it sounds like even aside from that like first bit of separation and not being aware of what's going on, then it really seems like the parents were pressuring her or leading her in a direction where it did end up leading to, whether it's her choice, whether it's her parents' choice, we don't know, right? But there was a choice made that that child was not going to live, that child was going to die. And where are the fucking parents at that?
Excuse me. She named it Annabelle, by the way. I just want to throw that out there. She did name the baby.
No.
I don't know if the name helps the story or
The
not.
fuck?
But the,
The fuck?
Yeah, I'm like, oh no, God, not Annabelle. And I'm sorry for anybody who's named Annabelle. I'm sorry, I just think about that creepy.
Ain't nobody
person.
watching Name
the
Annabelle.
overall thing is, at the end of the day, this little girl still didn't get held accountable in any type of way. So there's a high
Right.
level of privilege there that we can speak to. But then the main thing that she only got a year in prison, asked of her, that was what they were asking to give her in defense of the situation, was because she illegally disposed of a corpse. And that's it. And that's all. Not the burning of the child. When you was gonna have a cremation burial by yourself, do you know what type of degree it
Well,
takes
to me,
get
I feel like
involved?
the mom was involved a little more than they are putting on.
Involved, baby.
I do feel
They
like
were
the mom,
never
because
arrested or questioned, the parents.
Baby,
they were
that's
definitely
the thing.
questioned, yeah,
They were
but
questioned,
not
but the family
arrested.
has money. The family
Mhm.
has money.
Reminds
guys.
me of like
two attorneys. They
John
fired
Benet
one.
Ramsey.
Yes, they hired two attorneys. They fired one when one would not. One was basically trying to say that she would just agree guilty to some of the charges, and that he would try to help her, like, you got to say something and say you was in shock and all this other shit. She refused and was like, no, And so unfortunately, she refused. But the new hire that they got, they beat the case. So that's the reason why she has not been in jail. No, her parents have not been to jail. They haven't obviously figured out enough evidence besides the text messages, but the text messages are so discreet, it doesn't say too much because of the fact that she already had a health issue with this eating disorder. So in her mind, she could have just been speaking to the fact that I'm going to lose weight again, because this has been normal for her and her mom to text about, oh my God, I feel fat today, I want to throw up. Oh my God, I ate this and this is da-da-da. And she throws up after every practice. She gets done getting in the air, flying, and she throws up. So they said this was normal for her.
And honestly, if they were already not doing anything about that, if she was not in therapy, if she was not, being medically cared for with that already existing, then her parents are doing a disservice at that starting point, like, But I do agree in the sense of like, yeah, at the end of the day, like she had this part and she needs to be held accountable for what happened. Like a year, that is absolutely ridiculous. But
Crazy.
I still can't shake. And one thing that too I want to bring up is I meant to bring it up earlier, but one thing that I think needs to be considered in this too is like sex education. And from 2007 to 2016, there was a 24% decrease in abortion. Sorry, this is kind of going out of topic again, but 24% decrease in abortions. And what happened between 2007 and 2016 was we changed our high school education federally, but of course, some states, state power still matters. But in any case, there was a change in the school system about openness of sex ed rather than just, abstinence. So the more that we have sex education as part of our learning, the better like choices we are going to make, and hopefully the better support we have. And having things like a universal healthcare system would help this from, help keep it from happening, help keep people in the loop. So
what do you guys remember learning from sex education? Like, I just want to know, like, what do you specifically remember learning and how?
The period is a uterus, that basically sheds once a month and blood and wooty woo. That's what I remember, you know what I'm saying? But real fast to Escape's question, you know what I mean? And real fast, you know what I mean? I just think that an evaluation on parents, at what stage do we do this, right? But I'm gonna take what you said and add it to my little idea, because you just helped me a little bit, audience. Thank you. What I think is now, an evaluation does make sense when we give these men this birth control pill, okay? And this birth control pill, it really is gonna save a lot. Unfortunately, I know it sounds crazy, but moving forward, it can slow down a lot. You feel me? As a man can impregnate how many women, and we can only go through one a year. So come on, man, we statistically throwing women under the bus by just allowing these things to get up. You understand what I'm saying? But me saying that, and if psychological evaluation, how, when, where, when they get ready to date, when they get ready to have sex. So no, maybe if we get we give that psychological evaluation when the man decides to get on his reversal pill, birth control pill. You understand what I'm saying? That makes his sperms active. Why do you want to be an active shooter? Because you can shoot, just shooting blanks. But why do you want to fight for your sperm to be that active unless you feel the need to go impregnate these women and leave them, or either impregnate these women and make it seem like it was their fault they got pregnant, and you know what I'm saying? So the psychological evaluation should be on men, and the fact of why do you want to be a father? Why? Because that's women, we are born with natural nurturing skills. While we know we pick up the baby doll at a young age, we know why we might want to be a mommy. It feels good. Something laying on my chest, I feel good. This is something natural, we know. But as a man, what do you know? What do we teach these boys? Well,
and it goes into what we teach, how we teach our sons versus how we teach our daughters. We teach our daughters to be nurturers, and then we baby the fuck out of our sons as a culture. So what happens is when our boys grow up, they look for a mom. They don't look for a partner. You know, that's one thing that's been really significant in my relationship is you need to bring as much to this relationship that I do, as far as like even household things. Like, if it's dirty, do you live here? Can you do it? You know,
sometimes it feels, I think naturally it's their nature to fall into that type of, you know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, but then we forget the lead side. We forget the emotional support side, not just financial support. I don't know where they got their head, but a lot of people's wallet is not even there. Can't even mess with this economy no more to even think about one wallet. So let's get out the financial, support side and think about the emotional side that it really takes to be there. The emotional, when it means emotional support to your woman, that's as a whole. You understand what I'm saying? Allowing her to be vulnerable in certain situations and wanting to cater down to you in certain, not demanding. Nothing comes with dominance is demanding, unfortunately. Dominance and demanding are actually two different things in a sense, low key. Because when you're dominant, like, it just comes. Demanding is a lot different, and I feel like that comes full circle to what you guys are saying as far as, you know what I mean, the importance of teaching the responsibility behind that.
Teaching boys the same way we're teaching girls. Obviously, there's going to be different things. If you're a girl, you're going to experience different things from the male's gaze and just safety wise, and teaching our boys, to protect women in certain situations and stand up and speak out. I'm really lucky to be with a partner who was raised by women who, he's always helped me around the house. He's never even given it a question. It's never been an argument in our house. As far as like nurturing, we have a dog together. We don't have a baby, but, I can see that he's going to contribute in ways that I, haven't experienced yet. But, just raising our boys to really be nurturers as well, and not just teaching our young girls certain things because they are little girls and they're expected to be in the kitchen or expected to be a housewife or expected to be the nurturer lover. Men can do that too, you know what I mean? So that does come down to escape. Let's see, he says, because I was babied and taken care of and had everything handed to me. So I was definitely a hard time and took much longer to come into my own as a man. Yeah, that's true. We can talk about our relationship.
It's a huge disservice. Unfortunately, I don't think that very many people notice that. Some people would take it as false masculinity, like, oh, this is like a male thing. I've got women catering to me. I ain't never had to do this. It is not a good look. Okay, it doesn't look good. It doesn't sound good.
Well, and some women definitely are like that. They are nurturers. They are, their love does come in a way of being like a mom. But, maybe you are looking for a person like that. But I definitely think it's a disservice as a man to not bring to the table, 100%. We all need to give 100%, not 50%. We all need to be there being our equals and everything like that. And as far as being a father, they should be held to the same expectation. I think one thing I love to see is when a judge asked, a young couple had a newborn baby and he did not want to pay child support. So he was trying to get 50% custody. And one question that the judge asked during the hearing was, what size diapers does your child wear? And how many scoops of formula do they need in their bottle today, right now? And he couldn't answer that question. So I think that was really important for the judge to keep the man accountable. He did not, because that speaks to his involvement as a father.
Yeah.
Well, it does, because how are you going to have the baby for 1 week at a time or a few days at a time, and you don't even know how many scoops of formula you're supposed to put in or what size diapers you're supposed to wear?
On the bottle. How many women don't look, I found out so many things about pregnancy and about womanhood is because that's what they told me in the hospital before I could go home. This is what you know what I mean? If you're going to breastfeed, we're going to teach you how to make this baby latch. You need to know how he latches before. So I'm saying it was a trial and error a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like as a judge, it's doing a disservice. That's part of making it too easy on a man. No, he should have had to take that newborn, because that's part of your responsibility to keep that damn baby alive and read the instructions about what it is to do with the baby. So it's a learning process, but at the same time, it's not a permanent thing. He can come back in 3 months and try to do that again. But I think if you do want to be involved, you need to have just the same amount of effort. You know what I mean? You should be involved. That's putting boundaries and hurdles, unnecessary hurdles in front of a father. So for what? If I'm here to nurture, let me nurture. But now you guys want me to take courses and classes and paperwork to be a dad?
Well, it's not like super difficult things. This is feeding and changing a baby and knowing, it's very, very simple. A guy should definitely know that. Yeah, but he should have learned that, Go ahead, Shelby.
A little different way of thinking about this too, because one thing that I see with a lot of women is that women are not accountable in some ways enough of allowing their counterparts, their significant others, to do these things. They'll be like, no, I got it.
I got this. No, yep, I'll just do it. It's fine.
I have somebody in my family who they're not together anymore, but when they were together, it was, you don't know what you're doing. I'm not even gonna let you drive our child somewhere by yourself. I am always
no.
So women
that's crazy.
Have to have the awareness that men do have equal partnership. It is not just our responsibility only. So we have to also empower them to take on those roles. And of course,
definitely
they should want to also, but there's so many women who also don't allow for men to do that.
Yeah,
Totally.
agreed.
Totally. And I definitely think, you know, as a young father, it's probably really scary because as women, we have a lot of instinctual habits and things that we're just naturally want to do. I hear a baby cry. I'm not a mom, but if I hear a baby cry, I'm like, give me that baby.
Yeah.
Give me that baby.
Absolutely.
Everywhere. Barbecues, family get-togethers. I'm like, give me that baby, you know, and I'm not even a mom, but it's just that instinctual thing inside of me, you know, and yeah,
I
definitely.
feel myself doing that to my brothers, you know what I mean? And, you know, but the biggest thing about it is I will definitely take the baby, then adjust the situation, and then allow him to know, hey, look, you feel me? He was feeling like this. Maybe try this next time. And I'm going to give you the baby back after I soothed it and everything. But there definitely is, you know, we have a natural first-handed step up, but then I think that's another reason that we send those men into cycles without even realizing we're sending them into cycles sometimes. Us as women have to realize there's a lot of back work that we've done with the evolution of the world and the economy and certain things on the back end. Unfortunately, we just couldn't be the voice, so we had let a man read it or say it or whatever it was, you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, we know a lot, but we shouldn't shun the men away from learning, because that right there is sending them back out to what? Want to love again. So I need to find a mate. So now I'm going to go get a girlfriend. So when I get a girlfriend, we going to do, and 9 times out of 10, we going to have a little baby.
Yeah, and then that creates a whole nother problem, right?
Yeah, now this chick gonna be mad like I just strayed away in the situation and just said fuck my kid, or you know, whatever it is. So that's touchy too.
I got a thing to propose. So part of like thinking about these things, right? We're identifying issues, we're identifying the symptoms of these issues, but how do we actually effectively change these things? So like one idea that just popped into my head is, why not, like, in our education system, and this is something that we will absolutely get into a topic about at some other point in terms of diving into the education system and like what people should learn and at what ages, but in any case, what if we had like a class and we structured society in a way that daycare ended up being provided by teenagers? What better, and obviously like an overseer, right? Somebody there monitoring what's going on. But like if we're putting like, you know, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds in an hour a day at a daycare center where they are meeting the needs of babies and toddlers and different ages, then they will get firsthand experience. And I'm saying,
shoot, that's birth control within itself. He's like, I'm not trying to do nothing with my girlfriend.
Birth control.
No, Tia, one thing I wanted to add to that is as much responsibility as we put on women and everything that does fall within our court, the responsibility of the mom allowing the man to learn, it's just as much as their responsibility to want to learn and to be there like, hey, let me watch you really quick, and then next time I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? It's just as much responsibility. So I think, you know, giving them the opportunity should also be, you know, the equal counterpart to they need to be willing to learn. Because I think a lot of guys, you know, they're scared. But I want to point out the chat. Fracto said, every man has an inner nurturer. Not all are taught to accept it. That is a big, deep conversation we could have, because our inner nurturers, you know, men and femininity and how that's defined and what masculinity means and how that's defined. That's something that we could definitely talk about. I love that topic, and that is important to call out. Wild says, yeah, another reason for universal healthcare and birth control, definitely. And then Escape said, the back and forth and different rules per household and everything that comes with your parents being separated really shapes you as you grow. That's definitely true. 2 parents in the home, you know, that's 2 different ways of raising a kid. That's 2 different homes. That's 2 different bedrooms. So it does have an effect on kids, as we know. We definitely talked about that in our first episode. But yeah, all good input, you guys. I just want to call out, if you guys are not following the channel, please do so. Follow us on Instagram. We post pretty much daily updates, and we want to have you guys more involved as far as voting, you know, poll what we talk about every week on the episode. This week, what you guys can look forward to is a Wednesday night episode at 7:30 Pacific Standard Time. We do have 2 guests, which are going to be announced tomorrow on our Instagram. They will be announced with their biographies, a little bit about them, so you guys can get a little bit of a preview before we have the live show. And this Wednesday, we are going to have Shelby and Tia as the 2 hosts. So they will be here this Wednesday with our 2 guests. And I'm looking forward to watching and being a part of the chat and being a viewer on that. I'm excited. So that's going to be our first guest episode if you guys want to come check that out. But yeah, thank you guys for the follows. Thank you guys for tuning in this week. And let's continue the conversation, ladies.
Inevitably. So Tesla, tell me just a little bit as far as what you think about the male birth control and all that. Like my proposal, what I've been saying this whole time. Do you know what I'm saying? What do you think about that?
Speak to it. Talk to him.
I agree to the male birth control. I always think in any situation, what can a girl do in the same situation that a guy does? Like, I think guys should, if there was a safe way to do it and they know that they're going to be fine, I think that take action. Be like, that's their body. They shouldn't wait for their partner to make a decision to get birth control. If they want birth control, I feel like they should. By all means, have at it. I agree with birth control. It's just another way they can take responsibility for their body and their actions.
If it was up to me right now, those who are listening, just a few that are just still there, I would have it mandated. Men, soon as the balls drop and they hit puberty, they need to go to the doctor the same way we go and we get our first pap smear and all that weird shit. They need to go and get on the pill. I don't know who the pill is and I don't know who made it yet, but I know that it's coming. And I think this is going to be a realization to men that we have you by the balls. Literally, we need to start pulling back a little bit because, and then I want to get onto the touch of why we have a few last minutes for those who are listening. It's gonna be kind of funny, but why do people have the audacity to call a bitch weak and say, oh, you a pussy, when we know the pussy is not weak? Somebody
the pussy is the strongest thing. Childbirth in general is the most painful, excruciating thing the body can ever experience. It is more intense than breaking every bone in your body. So for every mother out there, for anybody who's ever given birth to another baby, I give you props. That's something I look forward to. I got these birthing hips, so we gonna see how that's gonna go. We're gonna see if we do it natural or what, but it's definitely something to talk about. And when you say,
I hope that it does happen natural and and unfortunately, love, I love that we are on a podcast and I get to kind of express. I actually hate that comment, but I know you, my sister, and you mean that a good grace, right? But I hate that comment because I was bouncing on the ball and doing my stretches and my yoga through my whole pregnancy, and I was praying that them hips do what it do, and I was like, look, my hips are spreading, they gonna work. And then without it being an issue, it wasn't even up to me or my body or my hips being able to bear. It was the fact that the doctors just wanted to push a girl into a C-section for some shit. So I didn't get to use my little birth-bearing hips.
That's another topic we can talk about as far as disparities within the healthcare system, especially with Black women. My brother currently is going through medical school. He's in the Bay Area, so I can't speak to other areas, but the first thing they learned about the first week of medical school was disparities in childbirth with women of color. And I was really, really excited to hear about that because I think it's important to teach doctors about that, and giving women, especially women of color, the voice, their opinion. They need to be heard. They don't need to be overlooked. Childbirth is incredibly scary. It's painful. It can be exciting for some, bringing a new baby into this world. It's not something yet I've experienced, but yeah, it's very scary and things can happen. Deaths do happen. So listening to women is very important. And that's something that, we can definitely talk about. But yeah, I think this is a good place to start our closing. I think we've had a really impactful conversation tonight. Obviously, you know, these were sensitive topics, so we really appreciate you guys sticking around and listening just to our opinion. You know, obviously our goal isn't to sway anybody's opinion. It's really to just give our point of views, throw some facts out there, and have a discussion to bring us together. Because, you know, there were things that we disagreed on. There were things that we'd like to see differently, and I think that's really important.
We love each other. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we love each other. We love each other. Yes. So, let's see. How should we close this, ladies? Should we do like another little icebreaker or what? What should we do here?
Why don't we ask the audience, like, is there anything anybody wants to know about us real quick before we close out?
Yeah, throw some questions our way. Let us know. Let me read some of these comments here because you guys...
Because if y'all think of a question, I'm going to think of one myself. Boom.
Yeah, so talking about when the pussy is the strongest thing, but when you're called a pussy, it's like an insult. Quincy said, when we say, oh, he has balls of steel, when balls are extremely sensitive, I don't get it. Yep, we talked about
That's
it.
what Tia said, yeah. Tia said that the other day.
Yes.
I said that, man, look, I kick you in the balls right now. I know it's going to hurt. So, yes. Yes. And so, well, you know, I mean, this is also something, you know, we talked about as far as the word bitch and how it got in the connotation to relate to females. But like I said, you know what I'm saying? We didn't, you know, necessarily want to be in that category of female dog in heat necessarily. So we took the word bitch and obviously made it as an endearment. That's something us females definitely do. You know what I mean? So maybe we should start taking that. If somebody calls you a pussy, let them know that that means you working strong and you are life able. Like, I'm a pussy, then I'll be a pussy. But a lot of times when you think about it, somebody calling you pussy is because you don't want to do something you don't think is a good idea. You're not really willing to be influenced. Oh, you're a pussy, you don't want to do that. It's like, nah, because pussy keeps you safe, keeps you smart.
The pussy is a phenomenal thing. We're 4 women here, so we're bound to talk about that pussy.
That's a good point, though, Shelby. I mean, everybody comes from a female, so you gotta learn to respect it.
So Wild wants to know, what's your feelings on climate change? Bruh, I know at the end of the podcast you did not bring that up. That is such a deep conversation. Quincy, aka Escape, says, how can we suggest topics? I mean, you guys can put everything in the chat, honestly. Like, you guys can join our Discord. Oh, that's another thing. Yeah, our Discord should be linked below. Let me again shout out our Instagram. You guys can engage with us on there. We are going to put out a poll probably tomorrow or Tuesday of what you guys want to hear us talk about next Sunday, or, you know, just throughout the week. We'll be engaging with you guys, so feel free to do that. Shelby just linked the Discord. You guys are more than welcome to join. Us 4 are in here periodically, but for the most part, you know, if we're not in here, you guys can post a message in the Discord and ask us questions, suggest ideas to talk about. We do have a lot of things coming up, and so we look forward to you guys being here. Like, I just want to thank you guys again. Thank you for the support. Yeah, that also is our email address if you guys do want to email us. We do monitor that daily. So yeah.
I seen in the comments that some people was talking about how they love a debate. And listen, we love the interaction, the comments, the questions. Anytime, feel free to interrupt. Throw the questions down in the comments. Somebody's watching. We will see you eventually and get back to you, whether we don't see it immediately. But we love the interaction, the questions. Please, interactive questions, personal questions, throw them at me. Throw them at us. I'm going to make everybody open up. So if you're afraid to ask anything that you're not sure if they'll answer, I'm going to make sure we get it off to the right way.
Yes, definitely. And also, we are, you know, obviously still looking forward to keeping this podcast long term. There is the potential of possibly adding a longer time or maybe like another day or something. And we would love to have you guys on as guests. We want to get to know our viewers. We want to get to know you guys as individuals, to share your story, to share your experiences and your views on things. So if you are interested in being a guest, we'd love to talk to you guys more about that. We do have a guest list pretty packed up, though. Shelby's done an amazing job scheduling and reaching out to people. But yeah, thank you guys all for being here. I think we're going to wrap it up here. You guys can always rewatch the VOD, or if you missed part of it, it will be published at the end of the stream. And we will see you guys on Wednesday. We're going to be live 7:30 PST. Shelby and Tia locking it in, holding it down with our 2 guests. Be there. And thank you all. Have a great rest of your night, everyone.
Good night.
With peace and love. Thank you all.
Good
Bye-bye.
night. Good night, y'all.